Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. David Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new TEAM therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. David is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David. That was such a dignified way of saying hello. And welcome, listeners, to episode 193. David, can you explain what everyone's was about to hear?
Yes, I will, but why don't we just read that beautiful endorsement part of it from Nivedita from Singh
Okay,
from
we'll
India.
do that first. Yes. And we also have another one. Dear Dr. Burns, Rhonda, and Taylor, I just finished listening to your 4th podcast of the Corona series. What an emotional roller coaster learning and healing journey it has been. The podcast built some amazing perspective. Taylor is a brave heart to Greg being a superhero. The podcast was so pure, had such integrity and absolute raw honesty. It required great courage from Taylor to allow her vulnerability to surface, and an equal amount of brilliant skills set by both the therapists to communicate empathy that soothed the right spot, not just for Taylor, but for every one of us across the globe who's dealing with the pandemic. When you address the distortions, you are addressing all of us and all of our anxieties. The role-play method had us confronting our own demons. I personally found myself choking when Taylor did, relaxing when Taylor relaxed, and I found myself to be gripped by fear when she became vulnerable again. I was on the roller coaster with her. By the time the podcast drew to an end, I could sense my shoulders relaxing, my breathing getting even, and my fists unclenching. Wait, I want to stop. So this is going to come out in June. Let's read this one before the Michael Simpson podcast.
And that's going to come out later,
because
right?
This is coming out in June. Maybe people are going to go, the Taylor podcast, that was in April, May, 3 months ago. Can we save that and read this for the Michael Simpson one?
When are we going to publish the Michael one?
That's going to be May 7th, not so far from here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording.
And by the way, your Yeti's pointed at your mouth, right?
Yeah.
You can point it up at the ceiling.
Like that?
Yeah, I think it'll get better sound.
Okay. Okay, so do you have a general one to read, a general one that doesn't have to do with the CoronaCast?
Didn't you have one just a minute ago?
Well, it's about the CoronaCast also. Although I can say, this one is a little bit more general. I listened to the CoronaCast about Taylor Chesney. It was a very brave chapter. I really liked your positive reframe about despair, which I thought, man, that's a tough one. So I think this is a better.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start all over at 3:17. Okay, starting all over. Josh, this is the introduction to 193. And here's your 10 seconds of silence.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David. How are you?
Good. Real good.
So, welcome everyone to episode 193. And let's start off by reading one really cool endorsement about the CoronaCast series. 193, we're publishing it on June 1st, and this comment is about a podcast republished on April 9th, but I think it's a really cool one that's kind of general that people can relate to. And the person wrote, "Hi, David.
What's the name of the fellow?"
Andres.
Andre, okay.
"Hi, David. I just wanted to say hello and wish you happiness. in this Easter Sunday. I listened to the last CoronaCast, episode 4, CoronaCast 4, about Taylor Chesney's fear of losing her husband, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very brave chapter, and I liked how everybody raised the stakes, so to speak, and was very real about it. I really liked your positive reframing about despair, which I thought, man, that's a tough one to reframe positively, but you did. In times like this, one feels ashamed to have existential problems, given that there are people facing very tough situations. But as you said, one is a person and has the right to express one's own thoughts and feelings. Thanks for all you do. Cheers, Andres.
Well, thank you for that, Andre. We always appreciate your comments, your questions, your suggestions, and lately we've just been flooded with wonderful, grateful endorsements and emails directed not only to the CoronaCast series, but I've been delighted to say that the interest remains strong in our normal Feeling Good podcasts, continuing themes that we began long before the CoronaCast. And so for a while, we're going to try to continue to bring you 2 podcasts a week. The Thursday ones will be Corona-related themes, and the Monday ones will be on average, will be our typical TEAM-CBT, how to change the way you think and feel podcasts. Now, today we're going to have another live session for you. It'll probably be an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. It's live therapy with Sarah. We had done a tremendous live session with Sarah on February 24th, 2020. It was podcast 181, entitled Live Therapy with Sarah Shrinks Are Human Too. And Sarah had been struggling with some pretty intense anxiety during her session. She's a mental health professional. And it was a blowaway session focusing on one of the 4 models we use in the treatment of anxiety, the hidden emotion model. A couple of months after that session, the session was toward the end of last year, actually, but that was the day that we published it. But a couple months after that, she developed some kind of stomach flu and began to get nauseous, and then started getting tremendously panicky. You know, what if my nausea shows some severe illness that the doctor hasn't been able to find? And the only thing he could figure out was that she'd been took a lot of Advil when she got this cold or sickness, and whenever it was. And Advil, as you know, can upset the stomach, and she began to get severe upset stomach, and she couldn't eat hardly, and she had 100 days of nausea every day, every morning, along with intense depression, anxiety, discouragement, a lot of negative emotions. She'd been struggling for 100 days in a row and began to get pretty hopeless and discouraged, and requested a tune-up session that I was only happy to do one Tuesday, again in our Tuesday training group at Stanford. And I think you're going to love this session because it was another total blowaway session, and she's been feeling incredible joy since the time of the session. But it should be of interest to you because it shows you how to use TEAM for people who have severe somatic symptoms like pain, in her case, pain and severe nausea, in addition to tremendous emotional upset as well. And it was a dramatic and an inspiring session. You're going to hear tears, you're going to hear laughter, you're going to hear her fighting intensely against changing her self-critical thoughts. And this is a classic case of resistance. Our self-critical thoughts, I'm not good enough, that causes our pain, our depression, our anxiety, and yet it can be very hard to let go of those thoughts because they're a reflection of our high standards, our value system, and show really beautiful and awesome things about us. And you'll hear her fighting against me. And then when I switch back into a resistance melting mode and had her list all the benefits of fighting and continuing to beat up on herself, and I sat with open hands, there was an instant change, and then she was able to hit the negative thoughts out of the park. It really is a beautiful example of team therapy, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, where we start out in the session, I didn't think to record it right away, but it was a Zoom session because the Tuesday groups at Stanford are virtual now. We use Zoom for them. And I started working with her in front of the other students, and then it occurred to me, wow, we could record this just by pressing a button, and then we'd have a recording for Sarah to listen to after. And then it occurred to me a week or so later, gosh, we've got that recording, and maybe Sarah would let us publish this as a follow-up podcast showing how to do a tune-up after somebody has a relapse. And she was so kind and courageous and really overjoyed to give permission. And that's why we have the good fortune for you to enjoy this live session. So
Where were
Rhonda,
you in the model when you pushed the record button? What were you
well,
doing?
she had just started out, and we were looking at her daily mood log, and which you can see that in the show notes too. If you look at listening on my website, feelinggood.com, and then if you click in the show notes, reading them, you can click and see her daily mood log. And I have just read the upsetting event that she wakes up Sunday morning feeling sick, foggy, nauseous for the 100th day in a row, upset that my stomach and anxiety won't heal after 3 months of effort. Poor soul, just struggling and suffering that whole time. And then I was starting to go through her emotions, as I recall at the beginning of where we started recording, like she was feeling down and unhappy 80%, the whole anxiety cluster and panic and frightened 95%, ashamed 50%, inadequate and incompetent 65%, alone 40%, self-conscious 60%, discouraged 100, frustrated and defeated 90, and upset 90. And then I'm certain that I read her negative thoughts out loud, so I won't repeat them here. But she had a whole bunch of 10 negative thoughts kind of beating up on her, and I think you'll really enjoy listening as the session unfolds. There's tons of teaching points, and it's very very inspiring and dramatic. So Rhonda and I will now kind of fade off and wish you a good, happy experience listening to this fabulous session. So the negative feelings are sad and down 80, anxious, the whole anxiety cluster 95, the ashamed 50, inadequate 65, and incompetent 65, alone 40, self-conscious 60, discouraged 100, frustrated, stuck, defeated 90, and irritated 90. And on a previous version of this was angry, also 90. And then the negative thoughts is I should be equipped enough to defeat my anxious thinking and reduce my suffering. That's 95%. And if you haven't printed it out, you can write these down on a piece of paper. If I can't succeed in healing my own anxiety relapse, I am an inadequate hack of a team therapist. 95. I was strong, confident, and vivacious. Now I am fragile, weak, and self-doubting. And that's 100. And can I add, just to turn this into a negative thought, and I shouldn't be this way?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And then my anxiety is getting in my way and slowing me down. Is that true or false thought? Sarah?
I'm thinking. Well, I feel like it is slowing me down.
Well, then that's not a negative thought, right?
Yeah,
If it's a
because
fact, it goes up
it's
on the
okay, got it.
up in the event column. But do you have a negative thought about that?
I guess it's like that I should be able to take on more.
Okay, will you add that to thought number 4? I should be able to take on more.
Or like
And
have more stamina, I think is what, like,
yeah, I should have more stamina when I'm tired.
I could see like 7 people.
Huh? What?
Well, in general, I should have more stamina and be able to see like 7 people a day like I used to.
Yeah, right. And then something more serious is wrong with my stomach. And now if with COVID-19, I won't get medical interventions or tests to keep me safe and healthy. And that's 70%. And I should not have anxiety when I compare my life to all the extreme suffering in the world, especially now. That's 100. David is sick of me or frustrated that I haven't gotten past this, 70. And I asked you to do a interpersonal downward arrow on this, the rules in the road and the roles. And we might have to come back to that because it was totally off base. My role you described as a compassionate, warm, brilliant, giving genius.
Wait, I didn't say any of those words. I said the genius part.
Well, I think there were most of those words. I've got it right here,
I do
so I
think you're
can
those
quote you
things.
precisely.
Okay.
A genius, helpful, supportive, devoted hero. And somehow David is sick of me and frustrated with me when I'm suffering. Somehow that doesn't jive, those two. We might want to come back the role that you see David in. But number 9, I'm not as effective when I'm upset and anxious. That's 85. And I might get panicky and screw up with my patients. That's 80. And so I'm wondering if the group could practice your empathy skills and see if we can get an A on empathy, and then we can go on to our assessment of resistance and then on to some methods.
Sarah, I just like to say this gives me so much respect for you that you get up and keep going, and you're just so courageous. And I have a feeling that in spite of everything, you're doing a very good job.
Now, I have a question for the group. What's the difference between empathy and cheerleading? In empathy, you certainly want to provide warmth and respect, but in empathy, you summarize what the patient is saying. You acknowledge the negative feelings, and you kind of go to the gates of hell with the patient. You enter into the patient's world without trying to cheer the patient up or help the patient. Now that might have been helpful to Sarah, so my comments might be off base. Why don't you ask her what grade she gives you just now on empathy?
Hey, Sarah, what grade?
Well, I hear what David is saying and the teaching in that. It did warm my heart and feel good. So I still want to say thank you to you.
Okay, you got an A on that. Let's hear some more of you.
But I would like to say it sounds awful. Really horrible. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, hi Sarah, this is Fabrizio.
Hi, Fabrizio.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, empathy aside, I mean, it really breaks my heart to hear this from you, because I mean, you are such a kind person, and I still remember you from the very first time at the intensive, where you helped us so much and so well, and so honestly, it really does break my heart knowing that you're not feeling well and that you're having these issues. And yes, it is hard to keep having, like, physical issues for a prolonged amount of time, and it's something that you would throw out everybody. I mean, it's I have seen people, including people close to me, being sick, and it's not fun at all. So really, my heart goes to you, and I really hope that your physical situation and then your emotional situations will improve.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry, it came out in a whisper. I wanted to make sure you heard me say thank you. It means a lot to me.
Yes, I do think, yes, sure.
I thought that statement, Fabricio, was just wonderful, because you were using "I feel" statements, and it was really coming from the heart. And it sounded like it had so much kindness and compassion, while acknowledging how Sarah's feeling.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, this is Danielle speaking. I just really have so much respect and really appreciate you always just putting your feelings out there for all of us. And I'm really sorry that you're still been suffering through this, because I know we were working on this a couple months back.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine how hard this must be, just having to keep kind of push through every day and trying to find an answer and putting all this hard work in and not really getting the output that you want, and I can imagine you probably feeling really helpless or hopeless without having this solution. And I have a really good understanding and feeling, I think, where you're coming from, because I've also experienced GI symptoms in the past where there really wasn't a good idea of what was going on, and I had to go through endoscopy and colonoscopy and all of that. So I really feel where you're coming from, and it's kind of really hard to be present with your patients when you have so much else going on. And I just wanted to commend you, because it sounds like you're, despite all of this, it sounds like you're getting incredible feedback and still being effective in your therapy, which is doubly more difficult right now. So I just really appreciate you being so open, and my heart really goes out to you. And I hope we can be here in every way that we can for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to offer some empathy, Sarah. This is, for me as well, episode 2 with you, and kind of seeing you again, and this time in front of a bigger group, kind of really speaks to your courage, how courageous you are. And yes, it's been a long ride. It sounds like you've been struggling with it for a long time, and it's affecting your relationship, and it's affecting the way you just the way you interact with clients in the session. And there's so many different components to it, and I can really imagine you feeling scared, among other things. And I kind of, my heart goes out to you, because I also deal with a lot of anxiety, and I hear people calling their anxiety their superpower, and I never managed to turn that into that. But as you put yourself out here in front of everybody, I think in a way it is a way of converting it into something that has more strength in it. But I also understand that at this point, you're still struggling a lot, and you're also very wise to see that the health issues that you're going through might be related, and all in all, there's just a lot of unknowns. So you're feeling kind of like you're just having to deal with it all in the time of coronavirus, which kind of really limits a lot of medical access that you would have otherwise. And I think that just adds another layer of worry, which adds to the cycle. So I really feel bad for everything you're going through. It's really too much. And I really appreciate you sharing this with all of us. And I really hope we're going to be able to support you on this.
You're all doing great. I noticed that none of you are summarizing any of her, not a single one of her negative thoughts, and you're ignoring all of her negative feelings. Your statements are beautiful. You know, Karen's was great, Danielle's was great, but notice how you're all on a general level. You're doing beautifully on the general level. How many of you have a copy of her daily mood log in front of you right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to. You're right. I did not do the feeling. I mean, her thought empathy, but I tried to, like, in terms of like feeling disheartened or helpless.
Oh, your statement was beautiful. Just no one's acknowledged any of her thoughts or feelings.
Well, it's not fair for me to jump in right here. I was about to anyways, but now with that coaching too, that I'm sure to do some of those things. But I was just having, Sarah, in a lot of ways was feeling kind of excited to hear when David said that you were going to be the one to do this tonight. You know, you're clearly capable and motivated and care about your patients so much that you want to just give yourself to this therapy. And when I found out that you were going to be bringing this tonight, I felt excited to get to work with you because you have this just fantastic energy that you bring. I've sensed it whenever you're in group, and we've worked in small groups together. And then to know that you were going to be working on something tonight meant that you were suffering. And I didn't know what it was until I got to see the daily mood log. And then seeing this just makes me feel so much compassion toward you, because despite suffering with this and for a long time, it's not getting better, and you're still bringing yourself to sessions. And you're saying that you've been doing therapy for a long time, that you've had many sessions where you have not felt this way, but now you're feeling out of control at the exact moment that you want to be in control, which is in session when you're trying to help somebody else. And so I feel really privileged to get to work with you tonight, to get to hear about this, and that you're brave enough to bring this and share, despite having worked on it before, and saying things like, you're worried that, David might be sick of you or frustrated that you haven't gotten past this. And also, despite having some kind of commentary about yourself that you're fragile and weak when you think of yourself as confident and vivacious. And so, just really get a sense of your suffering from this daily mood log, and kind of how stuck you might be feeling, because you're wanting to get past this, and it's not that you haven't been trying, but it's just not better, and it's still something that you're dealing with.
Thank you.
One of the things that I've noticed here, Sarah, and I second Fabrizio's comments about how horrible nausea can be. I think it's one of the worst sensations a human being can have. And, it looks like you're not in physical pain, but physical pain sucks too. But it seems to me I'm seeing two different levels of suffering here. Maybe more than two. But one, you have some physical symptoms that are taking a while to clear up, and which may be physically caused, and sometimes emotional issues, relationship issues can also contribute to somatic feelings. That's one of the things I learned when I was a medical student at the medical outpatient clinic at Stanford, is how people with relentless physical problems that don't yield to medical intervention when there's no medical findings, it's often, emotions can play a tremendous role in that, and in physical pain as well. We don't know that's going on, but at any rate, the fact is you do have, a lot of physical symptoms, and then you're creating a lot of anxiety and panic around those physical symptoms. That's a second wave of suffering, which the physical symptoms themselves aren't causing the anxiety, but the thoughts are. And then there's a third level of self-criticism with a tremendous number of shoulds, and that might be the strongest dimension of your suffering, telling yourself, I should be able to defeat my anxious thinking and reduce my suffering. Like I'm not performing well enough. And this is a theme, I've been talking about with Alex and Jeremy, that this is, I should be better than I am. It just seems like every member of our group does a lot of suffering because of this thought. I should be better than I am, and the details differ. What is it that I should be better at? But it seems to be creating tremendous pain, and you believe that 95%, and so you're really really kind of, almost like putting yourself down, you might say, and beating up on yourself, and then telling yourself, well, if I'm anxious and can't get over it, I guess get over it completely, because you say you've gotten over it, quite a bit, that you've improved. But the point is, if I'm still struggling, then I'm an inadequate hack of a team therapist. How many of you here in this group suffer with anxiety and things from time to time? Put your hands up. So maybe you could just announce to the group, Sarah, you're all inadequate hacks of therapists. Would you do that? I know you don't want to do that, but I'm not telling you to do that. But would you ever do that?
Never.
Well, why not? I mean, because you're telling yourself that, right? And it's 95% true, and we have to speak the truth, right?
Right.
So
it's not kind, first of all.
Yeah, it's certainly not kind, but it's true, right? Like Jackie, do you get upset sometimes?
Yes, I certainly do. In fact, last week when I went through some of the small group exercises, I was saying to myself that I'm such a failure, and I'm so frustrated with myself because I can't get down the 5 secrets. And
right. How many of you can't get the 5 secrets? Put your hands up there. But I just bet you that Sarah's not going to tell you that you're an inadequate hack of a therapist. I'm just highlighting this to show how much pain that you're in that's caused by this self-criticism, and we'll deal with that a little later. But it's I was strong and confident, and now I'm fragile, weak, and self-doubting, and I shouldn't be this way 100%, and that I should be. I shouldn't be slowed down. I should still be, vivacious and 100%. And then the panic thought that comes in here. Something serious is wrong with my stomach, and that I won't get the medical treatment. And then again, I should not have anxiety when I compare my life to all the extreme suffering in the world, especially now. And it's just the different versions of the should statement. I was working on our app today with Jeremy and looking at the typical pattern of negative thoughts that causes feelings of inferiority and low self-esteem. And I swear all of them were just different versions of should statements. This kind of jumped out at us as we were identifying the distortions in them, and all 10 thoughts had almost exactly the same pattern of distortions. And this should, and I'm not as effective when I'm upset and anxious, and the implied should here is I should be more effective when I'm upset and anxious, and I might get panicky and screw up. There's another kind of anxiety panic thing, and so that's kind of like a quick eyeball overview, and then all this self-criticism and panic, it just causes emotions so intense. A discouragement of 100 and panicky of 95% is about as severe as the suffering as a human being can have. And I'm sure it's hard for your husband to grasp how much pain that you're in, and your frustration and your anger are intense, and your depression is intense, and your shame is not intense, but it's strong. It's 50%. These others are in the 80, 90%. And then you're feeling inadequate and incompetent and 65, but that's a horrible one to feel, and just to believe that you're not up to speed, you're not good enough, and then again feeling alone in in a lot of this, and kind of self-conscious too. And again, I support what the others are saying, that we're so grateful to you to bring this intensely personal problem to the group, so we can share this with you and see if we can work a little of our magic tonight. Would be such a great thing. But this is the thing I'll be missing most about the group, is when we work together in this way, and show who we really are. And I've canceled the Sunday hikes too, and we were going to try it virtually, but I kind of canceled that because we did one and it was kind of sucky and boring, and we weren't doing personal work. But I think it's a very great thing when we can connect like this. But I know you're hurting a lot. Maybe not so much today, but sometimes the pain is right over the roof, right up at the top.
Yeah, I feel like when it hits big, and it's like, and then I get very disappointed, because right when I think this is probably typical, right, of anyone suffering from symptoms, like when you start feeling like you're on the upward trajectory, and then it hits big again and you're like, get knocked down. But like, for example, today I'm feeling very grateful that I don't feel as wound up in knots as I do other days. And again, I'm also feeling like, just, I feel so grateful for this opportunity, even just at this midway point. I just wanted to say that, and thank you everybody for all your empathy and your kindness. And, I wish now, just knowing that we're taking a break, I just feel a little, again, just like, everybody else also is going through so much right now. And I won't say too much and beat myself up more, because I'm so good at that, you realized. But I just really wanted to say thank you ahead of time, that I'm so lucky to have this opportunity.
Absolutely.
How's the group doing on empathy so far?
Great, amazing. I feel like it's plenty, and I'm also happy to move forward. Like I was saying to David in an email, I've had a lot of empathy and support around this, because it's been going on for a while, and I have so many amazing people in my life, colleagues, all of you, so I feel very well empathized with, and ready to roll up my sleeves.
Well,
unless someone's dying to say something.
Our next steps would be, because we do want to move it along, because kind of fit into the time framework we've got. We need to do an invitation step, a miracle cure question, and then some maybe assessment of resistance. Would somebody like to get that process started?
One of you hacks can do it. That was a joke, just in case.
I'll go.
Okay.
I'm the best hack. So, Sarah, thanks again for sharing and volunteering tonight. And after you expressed all the emotions and the thoughts that go with it, I was wondering if you're ready to roll up your sleeve and move along, or if you would like to have more empathy and tell us a little bit more about the feelings that you're experiencing.
Thank you so much for checking in with me. And I feel ready. I feel ready to move on.
Okay.
Roll up my sleeves, get to work.
Mm-hmm. So, should I keep going?
Yeah, you're doing great.
Thank you. So, if this were the best session, what would happen, like when you walked out here today? Like, what would you like to achieve? Let's say if a miracle happened, what would the miracle look like?
I think that in trying to be reasonable, right, like in remembering that the medical, if there is a medical, component at all, that's not on the menu. I think that just raising my self-confidence again. You know, just I understand that like acceptance is also a piece of this. Like my husband has said a couple times, you know, like as soon as you stop caring about, and I don't know if he's right, but I think it can be useful. As soon as you stop caring so much or worrying so much that it's something serious, it's probably just going to go away. You know, like as soon as you just kind of move forward and let go. And I have thought about that at times. I might have gotten off track with answering the question. I think just, you know, I know some more acceptance that it is what it is. It's kind of like the coronavirus that, you know, this is where we are, and it's temporary, and it won't always be this way. And, you know, I am persevering, even though it sucks. It really sucks when it happens. Yeah, I guess I just want to get my groove back, because I also really want to be of service to people. Like I want to be feeling like I can say yes to every opportunity that I have without hesitating.
Okay, now one thing about agenda setting or assessment of resistance, it can get kind of vague and abstract, and then therapy gets mushy, and you start working on this general level that isn't going to be very effective. So I try to make it very specific. And by the way, I think you are moving us in the exact correct direction there, Sarah. But to cut to the chase, would you want these negative thoughts and feelings to disappear? You say you want to feel more self-confidence, you want acceptance. I don't know what those are big words to me. I don't understand. But I do understand what's on this daily mood log, and that you're intensely upset in 9 different dimensions. You've got a ton of very upsetting thoughts. Would you want those to be improved or to disappear?
I would really like for these thoughts to be improved / disappear, and for most of the emotions to be dialed way down.
Yeah, so suppose we had a magic dial, a magic button, the red magic button. If you press it, all these negative thoughts and feelings would disappear. You'd have no anxiety, no worry, no depression, no shame, no anger, no discouragement. Would you press the magic button?
You know, like my instinct is to say yes, but I also understand that it makes sense to be reluctant and possibly look at how some of these show what's right about me.
Well, why don't we take a look at that and see what these negative thoughts and feelings show about you that's positive and awesome and beautiful. And number 2, what some benefits are to you of these negative thoughts and feelings. Could we start maybe with anxiety?
Yeah.
Well, let's start with depression. For first of all, down and unhappy, you're 80%. What are some positives? And you should all list this on paper, I think. What are some really good things about being down and unhappy?
Struggle finding the positive with depression.
Well, this is easy. This is just like falling off a log.
I mean, it just reminds me that there's the other side, and that I have this grand desire to not be in the dumps.
You mean it shows your passion for life?
Yeah.
Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Is that a good thing, to have a passion for life?
Absolutely. And a passion for energy too,
Well, those are 2 things. So you have a passion for life and a passion for energy, right? And suppose you press the magic button and your unhappiness disappeared and completely, and your feeling down completely disappeared, and you were happy. So then you'd be happy about the fact that you've been in pain for 3 months and in suffering for 3 months.
Yeah, that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
No. So maybe to feel down and unhappy, could we argue that it's appropriate in a way?
Yeah, it's appropriate.
Yeah, and healthy.
Realistic.
Yeah, it's appropriate. It's also realistic. Anything else you can see about being down and unhappy, or that any of you can see that would be show positive or awesome things about Sarah, or that would be beneficial to Sarah?
I was also thinking that maybe being depressed gives also other people the opportunity to care for you, because you feel, you kind of sounded, oh, I need to be happy and go be vivacious and go back to where you are. And I think this kind of being a little bit more down and sad gives other people the opportunity to take care for you, and that you can also, kind of let yourself go a little bit and be sad about this without, because you're always the one that is probably encouraging others and there for others, and you're always so up and happy. So it's kind of balancing a little bit. And so
Let's see if that resonates with Sarah. Does that resonate?
Super. Yeah, it really
Put it
resonates.
in your own words, because that sounds huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Thank you so much for saying that. I definitely have always been, I have 2 little girls, they're 4 and 7, and a husband, and, two working parents, and, our lives are so busy. And again, like I talked about some of this on the podcast, like I've always been expected to just like hold it all together and, be the detail person and just go, 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 go. And when if you've ever had a baby and raised, even, I've only gotten as far as age 7, but it's like a wild nonstop ride. And husband also likes to go, go, go on the weekends. And I love that, but sometimes I really need to rest. And this whole stomach thing, I did notice that like it provided this opportunity, I think, one, for like my husband to realize he and the girls could like be okay without me and go handle, stuff or have fun. And it would maybe be okay if I just rested and took a break now and again and sort of caught up. And
put that down. This is so important.
It's so important.
Yeah,
and I think it's been shocking to him. He's known me for a long time. He's never seen me slow down, like.
It lets others know that I need to rest, and that I need to slow down, and that I can't be go, go, go all the time and be the strong one who takes care of everyone and who does everything.
Right.
Is that important?
Absolutely. And I think I was trying to communicate that with words for a really long time, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like my body decided, okay, well, let's try another method.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really.
Awesome. That's awesome. Our cat did that today. Our little kitty's learning to communicate, and she jumped up on the counter and looked at her food dish, which had half-eaten food, and looked up at me, and then jumped down, kind of like, I don't want this. And then she walked over to the cupboard where the cat candy is, and looked up to me with a happy face. And then she suddenly ran into the around the corner where I usually throw her cat candy. And so I opened up, got the little cat candy, and gave her 4 pieces of cat candy, and she was totally delighted.
Wow.
But I love what you're saying, because this is the same issue we were struggling with in the previous podcast.
Exactly.
That women have a kind of a double-edged sword going. On the one hand, women are going to be equal to men, or in many cases superior to men, from my point of view, and strong, and take an important role of leadership and have careers. Just don't give up on being 100% wife and 100% mother, and then the rest can be for your career. So you've got like a 300% assignment, and that's the downside of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How do we let people know that we need a little love? We need to be cared for. Also,
I had also, like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had, before was always an exerciser and a healthy eater and took good care of myself. It was always a really important value. And then during motherhood, it's like you just slowly let these things go. And
Yeah.
I'm also very sensitive, just like, you know, my soul is sensitive like most of us, and the work we do is a lot. And I wasn't taking care of myself at all. And the podcast time and really helped me realize that, and make some important changes that I've incorporated in my life. And I think that's part of the progress I've made. And also addressing the things that were not being communicated in my marriage. You know, they're all kind of intertwined. One more thing is just that I learned on the hike we did, you know, that after the podcast, while I did try 5 secrets and was making some efforts, I think there was still some resistance there. And so when the stomach stuff started in January, one way of thinking about it is like it upped the ante and was like, okay, no, you're not actually fully expressing how you feel or fully committed to the 5 secrets with your hubby. And so just sort of putting it in those terms as well, that it's like a messenger, the stomach, I think.
I love what you're saying. There's so much wisdom in what you're saying. It's kind of mind-blowing in a way. We also have, by the way, folks, a beautiful relationship journal. I don't know if we'll have time to get to it tonight, but again, the pattern back then and the pattern now is husband says something that hurts my feelings, and then I say nothing in return. Can I just read this exchange?
I think it's actually really relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. Husband said, the truth is, I'm so disappointed in you that you would even need to think or talk about taking this opportunity. That this is the opportunity. Mayor Katz called and said, would you join this new thing that I told Sarah to get?
The COVID crisis clinic.
The COVID crisis clinic, and start treating 5 to 10 more cases of mental health people who were depressed and anxious. And the husband says, I'm so disappointed that you would even think of taking this opportunity, essentially when my income is currently diminishing.
Actually, that wasn't the.
Huh? That's
not exactly what it was. Yeah.
Well, he says when people out there need you, but I didn't understand what that meant.
Oh, here, I'll read it. I think there's a little piece you might have missed. It says, the truth is, so when Mayor reached out to me, I then reached to my husband and said, could we just talk something through? And he said, he sort of didn't make space for me to talk it through. And he said, the truth that later came to me and said, the truth is, I'm so disappointed in you that you would even need to think about it or need to talk about taking this opportunity. When people out there really need you, and my income is currently diminishing. Like, so
who are the people out there who need you? Who's he referring to? That's.
Oh, meaning, so the COVID crisis clinic is in support of like frontline ER medical workers. So basically what he's saying is, I just wanted to talk it through before making the decision, because I was feeling a little nervous about, can we swing it with our kids at home and me taking on potentially 5 to 10 new cases? And his response was, I'm disappointed in you that you even have to think about it, or that you would need to talk through pros and cons, because 1, his income is diminishing, and 2, the people who are suffering on the front lines need my support.
Oh, so he wants you to take the position because then you'll make a little more money.
And also, like, that it would be shameful to not offer my services when I can help.
Oh, I see. Great.
So he was saying, I'm disappointed. He said, I'm disappointed in you that you even need to talk it through. Like, it should have just been an automatic yes.
Right. So the theme is he's criticizing you. And then you thought he had all these negative emotions, about 12 of them. I won't read them all. And then in reality, I said nothing because I froze. And you had about a dozen or 15 negative feelings as well.
But and also, David, telling her to toughen up. He's saying, toughen up, go do the thing. And you are saying, I'm feeling weak and I've been struggling with this thing for a long time. And I'm already giving so much of myself. And that you're trying to send the message, I'm already overextended. I need some care and support here. And he's saying, why would we even solve this in our relationship? You need to just go do. And so it's a really tough place. There's some judgment in there too. And
right. And so maybe my body is trying to show, hey, I need some TLC here. I'm tired of being whipped into run faster, horse.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I had already said yes when he came in to say that.
yeah.
Sort of way. Yeah.
Right. And then, so the idea here too is I'm not going to express negative feelings. I'm going to hide them.
Right. Well, I felt so ashamed. Like I received his message loud and clear and felt so much shame that I didn't, just know to immediately say yes. This was like the first week of shelter in place, and we're trying to figure out like how do we work and what do we do with our kids? And I'm like, oh my God, my stomach, there's a lot going on.
Well, we've got two different directions we can be going, and they're both productive. I think you understand very well the 5 secrets one. You need a lot more practice and maybe a change in policy as well. That's a pretty big task. Then we've got the daily mood log with your negative thoughts and feelings, and that's an important piece also.
I want to stick with the log because I feel very clear, and we've done a lot of work around the 5 secrets, and it's very clear to me that practice is still needed, and it's ongoing, and it's not perfect yet, and we did heal from this,
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So what is?
Can I make one comment? There's a thought here that just came out, which resonates with one of the ones earlier we deleted, which was I should always do more. I'm not giving enough. I have to do more. You said you felt ashamed that you didn't immediately know that despite feeling overextended or kind of worn out, you didn't just know that you should, of course, do more. And I don't know, that feels like an important thought to look at, I think.
We can write that one down too. How would you word that one, Sarah?
I should always be able to do more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I should always do more. And then how much do you believe that one when it goes through your mind?
Well, actually, I'm stuck a little because I think that I don't really believe that regularly at this point. But with this situation, like the thought is I kind of like what my husband said, like I should be able to know, yes, thank you for the opportunity. And I can't wait to jump in and, that I should have felt that way immediately.
Yeah. So how much did you believe it at that point?
I guess like 85.
85. Good. Now, another feeling you have here is anxiety. If you press the magic button, the anxiety will go to 0 and you won't be anxious anymore. Now, what does the anxiety show about you that's positive and awesome, and what are some benefits to you of this anxiety, as well as telling yourself things? I might not get the medical treatment I need, and I might freak out in a session and lose control. That type of thing.
Medically, the anxiety keeps me safe, making smart decisions to rule out those possibilities.
Is that important?
Yes, very important. Safe and healthy; those are important values.
Yeah. What are some other things about the anxiety that's shows about you that's positive and awesome, and some other benefits of this intense anxiety?
I always think of anxiety as like energy up versus, energy down. And I value energy and motivation and productivity and being effective.
That's good. How about group? What are some more benefits of Sarah's anxiety, and what does it show about her that's positive and her core values?
Well, it certainly shows her high standards, that she's not accepting the status quo.
I love that. So you say when I'm anxious about screwing up in a therapy session, it shows that I have high standards for the way for the treatment that I give. Is that correct?
Definitely.
Sarah, is that what you, or
Oh,
Esther, is that what you said?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
right.
Do you have high standards?
I do. I think that I keep upping them, since I've been in the team community, and
Sure.
really treasure this. And there's so much to learn and get right. And
Yeah.
even you say it's hard for people to learn, and there's definitely a correlation between my increased anxiety and wanting to really be successful with this, because I really believe in it.
So it motivates me
Yeah.
to improve, right?
Mhm.
Is that important?
Very.
To learn and grow?
Mhm. Mhm.
I sent this patient to Matt May, who called me. I don't know if you know this story, but he was the most obnoxious person I ever talked to on the telephone. He said he was, I'll disguise it, going to be the #1 pick of the NFL draft. He was the top person in the United States, but he'd gotten so panicky that when the scouts were going to come, and he couldn't throw the football anymore. I'm disguising it a little bit. And he said, I've been through all the top people in Texas and no one can help me. And I heard you're an expert in anxiety and you must help me right now. And I said, listen, I'm not in clinical practice right now. This is my home, but you could call my student, Matt May. He's one of the greatest therapists in the world, really. And maybe you can come down and do an intensive with him. And he says, well, put him on the phone right now. Do you know this story? And I said, I can't. I don't live with Matt May. I'm married. You'd have to call his office. And he says, what if he doesn't call me back? And I said, I'm sure he'll return your call. Please just call him. So I got him off the phone. He was so demanding and entitled. I'll just make this real quick. He called back in 20 minutes, kind of shouting at me, why won't Dr. May answer the phone? Why hasn't he called me back? And I said, he's probably with a patient. He'll wait till he calls you back. And then I saw Matt the next day, and I said, gosh, I'm so sorry sending that fellow to you and telling him to come do intensive. He sounds horribly difficult. I've never seen someone in such a panic, so demanding. Is he going to come and do an intensive? And Matt says, no, I don't think so. I said, I'm not surprised. What happened? Why isn't he going to come and do an intensive? And Matt says, well, I talked to him for about 4 minutes, and then he said he was cured. And I said, well, what did you tell the guy? And he says, I just told him what you taught me. I told him that I said, I've seen you on television. Do I have the tools to cure your anxiety and panic? Absolutely, I do. Would I be willing to do that? No, absolutely not. And Phil said, why not? You must. No one else can help me. And Matt says, because that's the secret of your success. And you've paid this price to become so fantastically successful. And we enjoy watching you in the elegance and the tremendous athletic prowess. And without your anxiety, all that's going to go down the drain. And the fellow says, oh, my anxiety is okay? Matt says, that's what's been fueling your success. I wouldn't dare do anything to reduce or eliminate your anxiety. And then the fellow says, oh, I feel so much better now. My anxiety's gone. Well, the story didn't get a big response. That's why I hate online stuff. You can't hear people.
I'm going to ask Matt about that on Thursday when I talk with him.
Yeah, ask him. He'll remember.
Okay.
Yeah. So your anxiety has really motivated you, and you're developing tremendous skills. What's good about your shame?
Ugh. I don't know. I guess, well, shame.
You're ashamed of your anxiety. You're ashamed that you can't defeat it.
Yeah.
Better, faster.
Can't think of anything right now. I feel ashamed about that. And it's
What's
kind of a
beautiful and
joke.
awesome about shame group, Ryan, Danielle, Sarah,
Like,
That you
Sarah,
value what others think about you. You're ashamed
Yeah.
of in front of others because you're worried about what they may think of you. So it shows that you value how others see you. You value connection, relationships.
Hmm.
is that true?
Yeah, it is true. I think, sometimes it's too much true.
Well, all of these things are two-edged sword, but is there that positive
Right.
edge to it?
Yeah.
You
Right.
you
I mean, I
you,
think so.
you value relationships. The shame, does your shame, does that show a humility?
Yes. Humility.
Is that important?
It is important to me.
Is that real?
It is real.
Is that powerful?
It is powerful.
Uh-huh. What are some other great things about shame?
Well, I would say it also shows that you are responsible, like you're a person that you keep yourself accountable, even in a
Yeah.
situation like this where you're actually sick and you have the physical issues and everything. Still, you don't let yourself off the hook and
That's right.
too much. But the positive is that you are a responsible
Yeah,
and accountable person.
I love what you're saying.
Yeah.
It seems beautiful. Do you agree with that, Sarah?
I do agree that it's important and powerful.
Yeah, and I also added, taking a similar vein, Fabrizio, integrity.
Yeah, integrity.
That you're being honest, that you're struggling right now, so you're not going to kind of fool yourself or fool others. That you say I'm failing in a significant way right now. Is that important? Integrity.
Hmm. Yeah, it is very
Honesty?
important. Hmm.
Yeah. And I think that integrity is really shown here, Sarah, in that thought. Let's see if I'm right, that, I should not have my anxiety when I compare my life to the extreme suffering of the world,
Hmm.
especially now. That to me is just a beautiful explanation of what you're talking about with the shame, of
Yeah.
how it keeps you so aware of where you
Hmm.
want to go, and then your awareness of others, and how you deeply care about both.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like provide some perspective
Yeah.
as well. Thank you.
You're also feeling very inadequate and incompetent. What are some awesome things about feeling? How many of you feel inadequate and incompetent at a good bit of the time? What are some great things about feeling inadequate and incompetent, Sarah?
Well, it keeps me striving to improve,
Uh-huh.
working
Sure. Uh-huh.
hard to.
That's huge.
Hmm.
Is that real?
It is real.
Uh-huh. What are some other wonderful things about feeling incompetent?
Um, I guess I take my work seriously.
Is that important?
Yeah.
Put that down.
Like I don't take it lightly that people come to me with their most vulnerable aspects of their life, and it's financially not easy. And
So,
I've definitely noticed like an increase in a lot of the pressure I put on myself since being in private practice. And,
yeah. So I put down two things: take
charging.
work seriously and compassion for patients.
Mm-hmm.
That I want to give them something. I've thought of another huge positive about feeling inadequate.
Okay.
Would it be a fact of the universe that you have tons of inadequacies?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
is that important, to be honest?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So put that down. Honest, because I can't personally grow until I admit a certain inadequacy.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
and it's not being in a state of denial. Well, let's just do one or two more really quick because
Okay.
we got to look at the clock. But discouraged is 100. Oh, well, alone. Well, alone is easy. What's great about feeling alone?
Just it shows I value like connection and feeling understood, or
Right. Awesome.
yeah.
And what's beautiful about being discouraged?
Um,
What's fabulous about being discouraged? What are some wonderful things about being discouraged or hopeless? What is this show
Anybody?
about? Huh?
Oh, I was going to see if anybody in the group wanted to comment on this one.
What did the Buddha mean when he said discouraged rocks?
I mean, it shows you really care.
Okay. Is that true, Sarah?
Well, we can't hear Ruben.
Oh.
You can only say it once.
It cut
it
out.
shows. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I mean, it shows that you really care about your performance and about your ability to be there for others.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's true. And yes, and it's important.
Mm-hmm.
And hopelessness protects you from disappointment, right? If you don't get your hopes up, you're going to be disappointed. Like when you said earlier, oh, I always thought I was getting better, and then boom, it hits me again. Like the
Yeah, so it protects you from that horrible cycle of getting up and then getting kicked in the stomach.
Yeah, that's true.
And does discouraged, does that also show that you're realistic? Since it has been a while, right?
It has, yeah.
And from
And
the Buddhist,
it's yeah. Go ahead, Esther.
sorry. Just think from the Buddhist point of view, there can be a kind of acceptance and assessment. You know, that maybe you can't learn everything all at once and be the best at it out of the gate.
I love that one, Esther.
I do too, and it reminds me, it's like on both ends, you know, like being better, learning more, or the stomach healing. It's like healing in general sometimes is a process, and you know, sometimes it takes one session for some people, and sometimes it's a process, and that you know, being an acceptance of that.
And sometimes there are things you just can't do. Like maybe you, Sarah, could take on 5 or 10 new patients, but boy, I sure couldn't. And I wish I could. But
yeah.
I love what you're saying. I was asked to do a podcast last night at 6:30. And you know, like everything else, I said, oh, yes, I'll be happy to. And then my wife came in and said, I have to do a podcast at 6:30. And she said, are you sure you want to do that? I says, no. She said, well, you could tell me you can't do it tonight. I said, I never thought of that. So I emailed right back and said, you know, I'm tied up tonight. I'm tired. I've been up working since 5 a.m. And we have to reschedule. It was so simple to do that, but it never occurred to me. Yeah, and just to move the time along here, what's great about being 90% frustrated, Sarah?
Oh, sorry, I had muted myself. Being frustrated, I think, you know, it just keeps me getting back at it.
Yeah, yeah, it shows you haven't given up. You're pursuing your goal.
I haven't given up. Yeah, every morning, I mean, just about every morning, it starts off not good. And that frustration, like, no, I'm going to get through it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up and I'm going to figure it out.
I love that. And then the anger is 90%, the irritation. What's good about that?
I guess sort of the same thing. It's just like I'm not going to stand for it. You know, like I'm not going to be complacent.
Yeah, I'm not going to settle for this garbage.
I'm not going to settle for this garbage.
Does it help you get out of bed when you're feeling so sick and nauseous? The irritation is kind of gives you, because you said you love that energy. Does that help give energy?
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's like the alternative is giving in to the feeling that, like, in my life have never had the feeling of like, I think I don't want to get out of bed. That's just not who I am. And during this has been the first time I've ever felt that way. But so the alternative of kind of kicking myself out of bed is to fall into something that feels really dark and complacent. And like, that's not an option.
Yeah. But with the anger also because too much is being asked of you?
Yeah, maybe there's
healthy anger?
Some of that, I think. But
yeah. All right.
And
Now,
maybe just angry because it's unfair. Like, why do you have to have this in such a difficult time? And just like, it's kind of protesting that you don't want any of this to just make it go away.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it's just like, and I get that. It's like, you know, sometimes life is unfair, but it does make me angry. You know, I get this like, not now. You know,
yeah,
like I'm on the verge of like so many things going well. It's like, and
right.
then of course with the new, you know, this crisis, it's like, yeah, bad timing. Although I'm grateful for being able to breathe.
Yeah. Now we've got a good
Yeah.
20 or more positives that I think you've been writing down there. So maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense to press that magic button, right? That's what you were
Right.
alluding to earlier. So what would be, if we use our magic dial, how much depression would you want? You know, so you could keep all the, you know, we had came up with 2, 4, 5 beautiful things or more, you know, you know, about 6 things about good things about feeling down and depressed. What would be an appropriate amount of down and depressed to have tonight?
You know, I feel like the depression that was there or is there has, like, the message maybe was transmitted, you know,
Yeah.
that like sometimes I need, and that maybe I just need 5.
Is 5 enough? Could I talk you into 10 or 15?
Okay. I'll meet you in the middle for 10.
10, okay. How much anxiety would you want to have? You're in a little bit of danger now, and
I guess 25.
25, okay.
20.
23, did you say?
Oh, I just said 20.
Oh, 20. Oh, 20. Okay, 20.
20 is enough.
We'll live dangerously. How much shame do you want?
You know, 5.
5. How much, and I'm writing this down. I hope you're all writing it
I'm
down in
writing
the
it down.
gold column, because it really helps you keep on track with what's going on. How inadequate and incompetent do you want to feel?
I'll keep 15.
That's a good amount. How alone do you want to feel?
5.
Great. How self-conscious do you want to feel?
I guess 10.
How discouraged?
10.
I was thinking 15. Is 10 enough? I mean, it's been a discouraging time.
Yeah. Okay, 15.
Frustrated, stuck, and defeated?
15.
Angry?
15.
I mean, we could go for go real crazy on that and go for 20.
I'll stick with 15.
15, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other negative feelings?
No.
Okay. Which of these, now we've finished the assessment of resistance, and I'm going to push us along. Might not be the best teaching style, but I do feel first priority to be able to complete the intervention when we're doing live work, rather than to leave somebody hanging. So which of these negative thoughts do you want to work on first? They're all really, really excellent ones.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Let's see. I think that the one, I was strong, confident, and vivacious. Now I'm fragile, weak, and self-doubting, and I shouldn't be this way. I guess, is that all in there? Is that all in one?
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. Now, what are the distortions in that thought? There's the distortion box on page 2.
Yeah.
You can all do this too.
Yeah. So I think obviously emotional reasoning.
Now that's a good call. Now tell us why this is emotional reasoning.
Because there are times, well, this is also speaking to other distortions, but there are times that I feel fragile, weak, and self-doubting in ways that I'm not used to feeling. But it doesn't necessarily mean I am those things.
Yeah, right. That's a good call. What are some
Yeah,
more distortions?
I think it's also all or nothing and magnification.
Well, that's a good call. Tell us why it's all or nothing and magnification.
I think again, just that I'm saying here that that I'm always fragile, weak, and self-doubting every day, all the time,
Mm-hmm.
or that that I'm completely fragile or
Yeah.
completely weak, like that I would just break into pieces when I get
Yeah.
out of my bed.
That's good. What are some other distortions?
I guess labeling.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. Tell us why that's a distortion.
Like I'm struggling with some physical things and some anxiety, and deciding that like if you have physical discomfort and anxiety, that makes you a weak person.
Yeah, you're
Or
generalizing from specifics to the self.
right.
You're not saying I'm kind of sick and anxious right now and tired and fatigued. You're kind of saying myself has changed.
Yeah, right. That I've lost Sarah.
Yeah, and by the same token, we could say it's an overgeneralization, which is another way of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Also, just that before I wasn't strong, confident, and vivacious all the time either.
oh, so then we would say this is kind of mental filter then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And pretty soon we'll get to the important distortions in this thought.
Yeah.
Which are what?
Oh, there's more important distortions.
The key one on which all else.
The should statement.
Oh, would this be a should statement? I love that. What is the should statement?
That I should be all the time amazing, strong, confident, vivacious, and never feel down, fragile, weak, or have symptoms of doubt.
And that goes back to Karen Horney, the feminist psychiatrist, who talked about the tyranny of the shoulds. You have this, you see yourself in this ideal way as this strong, vivacious go-go girl.
Yeah, go-go girl.
Right? To use your words.
Yeah.
And then you see the real self who's tired and fatigued and weak and not on a high and kind of hurting and wanting support and kind of healing. And then you're saying, I should be that ideal self, not my real self. And Karen Horney and the Buddha said that's the key to all suffering. Albert Ellis agreed, and then Beck chimed in a little bit on the same thing. And then Burns took up the cause at a certain point.
Who?
Jerry Burns, he's a psychologist in New York.
Jerry.
And then I added self-blame.
Oh, right.
In the sense you're kind of beating up on yourself and putting yourself down.
Right.
Now, how can you think of a way of talking back to that thought? I should be more vivacious.
Yeah. I guess I started to do that before. Let's see.
Is it true that you should be more vivacious when you're feeling down?
Well, no.
Why not?
Well, it makes sense. If I don't feel great, to not be super vivacious, or even feeling confident all the time when something new is occurring.
So are you telling me it's okay for me not to feel super confident all the time? Is that what you just told me?
Yeah, I guess it's okay.
Is that true, or are you just blowing smoke in my face?
Blowing a little smoke in your face.
Are you saying I should feel vivacious all the time? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I shouldn't feel vivacious and confident all the time.
Are you saying I shouldn't feel fragile, weak, or self-doubting at all?
I think I'm saying I shouldn't feel this fragile, weak, and self-doubting.
How fragile am I allowed to feel on a 0 to 100 scale?
Yeah. like 10, 15.
Say, go ahead and say that to me. Say, gosh, you're only allowed to feel 10% fragile.
You're only allowed to feel 10% fragile.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, why is that? Because I'm feeling about 80% fragile right now. Fragileness isn't my problem.
Yeah.
I have another.
Listening to.
I have a much worse problem.
Listening to my bullshit?
Yeah.
Right. I struggle with this one. You know, like
maybe this isn't something you'd want to change.
Yeah. I don't think I should feel these ways all the time.
I'm a little
like
confused. Did you just say I shouldn't feel fragile some of the time, or I shouldn't feel fragile all of the time?
So I shouldn't feel fragile as much as I do.
I see. What percentage of the time am I allowed to feel fragile?
Maybe 10 or 15.
I see. Well, I feel fragile 20% of the time.
Well, I think 20% is probably reasonable.
What percentage of the time in your life have you felt fragile since you were born?
There you go.
I guess a lot, maybe.
What percentage? When you were born, you started crying, I heard, sobbing like a baby.
Yeah. I guess 70, maybe. I don't know why this is making me cry.
Yeah, well, just let those tears flow.
I think I just really value being strong. And like, you know, like learned that early on, like I have to keep it together. And be
it's
strong.
It's like maybe a core belief.
Like there's no space for me to fall apart.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't, not when I was a child, and not now. I think it's okay to fall apart for like a couple weeks. Like I accept that now. But it's like my time's up. You know? There's no more time or space.
No, we have a different timer, Sarah. You actually have 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing right now. I love what you're saying and doing and experiencing right now, Sarah. I think it's really beautiful. I'm sad for you right now, but
yeah.
Tough spot.
Oh.
I should be strong. I should have it all together. I should take care of everybody. And it's kind of sad, isn't it? Are you feeling sad now?
I think I feel sad because like sorry.
Pull yourself together, Sarah.
Yeah, Jesus. You know, it's like with all the messages I got growing up and the need to be the one to keep it together and keep going and onward, you know, and I had like made peace with that once in my life, like in my 20s, like, you know what, that's okay, you don't need to be. And then my husband is an amazing person, and I feel like bad that I'm always, you know, the stuff's always coming up here, but I think it's been like a second wave for me of getting those messages again.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like your value, you know, like you have to do A, B, and C to have value.
Yeah, right.
To have worth, to be good enough.
Right.
And I don't think he means, it's just his upbringing, and you know.
Yeah.
He's not an evil person. He's not even a mean person.
Sounds like you love him a lot.
I do, but I don't love those messages.
Right.
You know, like the one on the relationship journal. It's like seeing, you know, like feeling disappointed in me, or seeing this other person that's like not who I am at all. I'm actually really strong and like keep a lot together, and and I don't know why I keep getting those messages, you know?
Yeah.
So then I doubt.
Yeah. Right now, I'm probably doing a lame job as a therapist, but my own thinking right now is just that what you're doing is fantastic. Like you're putting everything together, both emotionally and in terms of you know the negative thoughts as well. It just, I mean, it's all right here, right now. I have a question to ask you. A couple questions right now. When you're struggling with the physical symptoms, like of nausea, and you know what that feels like, right?
Right.
How strong are those symptoms at this moment?
I don't feel nauseous now. I'm not having any stomach symptoms. In fact, I'm kind of dying for a snack.
Oh, what happened to your physical symptoms, do you suspect?
I mean, you know, they're maybe set free with my acknowledging of my emotions.
That's what that's what I'm thinking. I just can't praise you enough for what you're doing tonight.
Yeah.
How anxious are you at this moment?
I don't feel anxious.
How ashamed are you feeling?
Not really ashamed. I mean, I feel like a little self-conscious, but I don't know that I really care that much about that either.
Yeah. Well,
I guess.
Yeah, what caused the sudden shift? Because we haven't even gotten to externalization of voices yet.
Yeah. Probably expressing those feelings and making the connection that, like, you know, that there's a lack of kindness or self-compassion.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's
right.
for sure. Isn't that a beautiful thing to see?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've definitely noticed that before. I'm really hard on myself.
Yeah. Now let's just do a little externalization of voices for a minute. Right. Is that okay? What's your name?
Sarah.
What's my name?
Sarah.
What's Alex's name?
Sarah.
Yeah, and the rest. And now I'm just going to do externalization of voices, and anyone else can chime in as well. I'll get the ball started. But I'm going to be the negative Sarah, and this looks kind of mean, but this is actually a loving thing to do, to give you a chance to hit back. But I just want you to know that, yeah, you were strong and confident and vivacious, but now you're just fragile, weak, and self-doubting, and you shouldn't be this way. You should be strong, confident, and vivacious. That's the true Sarah.
You know, you have had moments in the last few months where you haven't felt like your usual self. Oh, I'm sorry. I have had, I'm sorry, I'm talking, I like lost track. I have had moments several moments in the last couple months where I have not felt like my usual self. And I've never seen myself so tired or so kind of like not functioning at a very great level, sort of physically. And yes, my anxiety has increased during this time. But I have still experienced myself as tapping into that vivaciousness. And especially even as I've started to get better, and I noticed that I still have energy and go on long walks and, you know, and engage with my children in the same way. there were times when it was worse earlier this winter that I felt really scared that I wasn't as engaged and connected with my kids. But I found my way, you know, back into a place of kind of being able to do that even when I didn't feel well, and in a place where I have, like, I guess it actually is pretty amazing when I look back and see how many sessions I have endured and still been successful in, despite not feeling amazing, and that I have been still present and fought through. Like I have fought hard. And that shows that I'm strong and not weak.
Who won?
Yeah, I think I won.
Big or small?
I think I won big.
Big or
I feel like,
huge?
I don't know that it's huge. I know
Do
I
a role
want to say huge.
reversal. I thought it was
Okay.
big, not huge. I thought it was beautiful and big, but not huge.
I
Hit
started
me
getting a
with
little
the same
lost
thought.
too. Okay, the whole thing. So
Just, yeah, any way you want to put it.
Sarah.
Yeah, hi, Sarah.
Hi. You know, you were, I hate to tell you, but I've noticed, you know, like you used to be strong and confident and vivacious and all this energy, and now you just kind of come off as like fragile and weak, and you're always doubting yourself. And
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. You know why?
Why?
I've been taking anti-vivacious training from David. I've been taking weak training, and I'm glad it's beginning to show. Because, you know, I'm not strong and vivacious all the time. You know, I'm a pretty powerful woman, and I've given a lot. I've been damn strong. But I'm not always strong. I have many sides to me, too, and sometimes I feel fragile and weak, and, you know, I accept that. My weakness has never been a problem. There's that other problem, that big problem. You know what that is?
Listening to your bullshit.
Yeah. Who won?
I think you won.
Well, maybe you don't want to accept your weakness. Maybe this is something you don't want to change.
You mean the feelings of feeling fragile and weak?
Yeah, maybe you don't want to accept it because you're in your defense. You said, no, I still am strong, and there's truth in that. But it sounds like maybe you don't want to accept the fact that you can be strong, you can also be weak, you can also be fragile.
Mm-hmm. I do think I want to accept that. Not this. It keeps coming back to me like not this version that's been like not this fragile or weak. Like I don't want to accept sticking that out.
Tell me, so, Sarah, you shouldn't be fragile and weak. Go ahead.
Shouldn't be fragile and weak for so long.
That is such bullshit. I'm being fragile and weak for the correct amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be as fragile and weak as I want to be, for as long as I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to listen to your rules anymore. It's a lot that's asked of me. I give a tremendous amount. And I have the right to be fragile and weak as whenever I want, whenever I need, as much as I want and need. I don't have to be strong all the time. I refuse to be strong all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Alex is going to jump in at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, are you feeling like you want to push on this thought a little more? Do you want to give it a shot and try some of this?
I think maybe another role revert. Like, how do you feel about another role reversal? Like
sure.
where you do. I think I need like new ideas.
I was
Yeah.
having a thought with this, David, and my sense is that we should stay with the same thought, but this is so closely related to her always needing to do more. The message that you're telling yourself, Sarah. Can I pivot on to that thought at the same time, because it's kind of another side of it, Sarah. You're telling yourself, I was strong and confident. Now I'm fragile, weak, and self-doubting, and that you shouldn't be. That you should be always able to do more, and that it's not okay to be weak. Do you want to try and hit me with that? Do you want to try and respond to that? What would feel?
So this is the part of the second part of that thought, the one that says, I should be, will you repeat it again? Sorry.
Sure,
I should be able.
Why don't you say to me, you should always be able to do more. You shouldn't be weak.
Okay.
And self-doubt.
Oh, right.
And fragile.
Okay. So Sarah, you should always be able to do more and be able to jump in and not feel fragile and weak.
That'd be nice. Thanks for telling me that, Sarah. It's so helpful when you tell me these things, just as I'm starting to kind of get down on myself and feel like I'm not exactly who, I want to be or I'm able to be. I've been having these stomach problems, and despite that, I've really been pushing on. And so it's so helpful to have you jump in there and tell me that I should always be able to do more. That'd be nice. I'm not sure about the should part. Would I like to do more? Absolutely. I love to give to everybody. I give to my family. I give to my patients. Mm-hmm. And I'm not very good at giving to myself, but I'm starting to turn that around a little bit and go easier on myself. I'm human too. And it's okay for me to, lean on others and to not always give away so much that I erode myself. So thanks, but no thanks on what you're saying for now. Who won on that one?
I think that you won, and I think you won big. I guess, yeah, it's starting to all come together better.
Well, I was worried.
But not huge.
I was worried it was small.
But not huge, right?
So.
What'd you say?
I said I was worried that it was small, so the fact that it's headed toward big feels okay. And if you're saying that it's coming together, I want to turn it right back to you, because this has to be something that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Would it be okay to do a role reversal and you give it another try to put a few things together?
Okay. All right, I'm going to give it another try.
So what's my name?
But first of all, I want to ask you a question, Sarah. Do you want to defeat this thought? Maybe there's advantages to tell yourself you should always be strong. Maybe that isn't something you'd want to give up.
I think that I feel that like something, I'm wondering like what's in the way. And you're right. I think it is hard for me to give that up. Like I really value keeping it together and being strong and not having moments of being knocked down. Like I said before, I just feel like there's no time for that. There's no space for that. And so you're right. There's like some resistance.
Could we do a downward arrow on this, David?
That's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could try more methods if you like, but if it's a motivational issue, it just might be, maybe let's list the advantages of telling yourself you should always be strong, and then maybe that's not something we should be working on.
I do feel like I want to argue now with that. Like it is too much pressure, right? Like I did want to agree that, I feel my resistance. I do want to hang on to that in some ways, but you know what? I've been doing this like my whole life. I've been so hard on myself and like unkind to myself and beating myself up and criticizing myself and pushing myself and focusing on like the negatives. But there's so many positive things about me. And even through this crap, again, it hasn't been optimal and it's been extremely uncomfortable. But I think it has reminded me like, wow, there's probably many people that would say, never mind, I'm going to close my practice down until this is healed, or give up on my kids, or ignore my husband and not try to do relationship work. But I haven't done that. And I've actually taken all of it, you know, like the whole bull by the horns, and kept fighting. And that makes me really strong. And I've also let myself rest sometimes, which is not something I've done in a really long time. And you're right. It's okay. It's okay to have times where I'm not at my best. And in the scheme of things, it's similar to the coronavirus, right? Like it feels so enormous, like this idea that we're never going to leave our homes again or life will never be the same. But it is just a portion of our lives and temporary. And it's going to get better, just like I'm going to get better, even better. I'm already getting better.
But I don't think I should be fragile and weak. You know, that's not me.
Yeah, it's not amazing. It doesn't feel good, but that's really all about feelings too. It just feels shitty, and it feels crappy, but it's not a reflection of my character or who I am or my value or my worth, or it doesn't mean I'm not good enough. It doesn't mean I'm not capable. It doesn't mean.
Now, let me stop you for a second. Are you saying it's okay for me to be fragile and weak?
Yeah, I guess it's it's okay.
Is that true, or are you just bullshitting me?
I mean, I think it's okay at times, and I really mean that. It's okay. It's okay to experience or be fragile and weak sometimes.
But I thought I was supposed to be vivacious and energetic and strong.
I mean, there's days where you've woken up feeling super weak and out of it, and then maybe like by the second half of the day you were vivacious again, and you snapped back and shook off the icky feelings and anxiety.
Yeah, but I don't think I should give in to these feelings of being weak, though.
I mean, I think it's definitely worth continuing to, fight through it, and it's worth continuing to address the changes that are really necessary that you make in your life. So you had really put aside your self-care and like personal growth, kind of been ignoring a lot of things and stuffing a lot of things down, and these were some really important reminders that you needed to check in.
Who's winning?
I'm winning.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
I think I'm getting huge.
Yeah, you are. Could I talk to you for another minute here, though?
Yeah, sure.
You beat me on that other one, but I want to remind you that you should be equipped enough to defeat your anxious thinking and reduce your suffering.
Yeah. I think that, again, that's an example of me being hard on myself. That sometimes it's easier, I think, for us clinicians to help and see these patterns and things in other people, and sometimes it's harder to piece together for yourself when you're wrapped up in your own tornado. So maybe that's reasonable, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have any skill or knowledge.
Well, okay, you beat me on that one, but the fact is, if you can't succeed in healing your own anxiety relapse, then you're an inadequate hack of a team therapist.
I guess it's along the same lines that of what I was just saying, that well, first of all, I am still learning, team. I'm not a master. It's not an easy model to learn, but I do have also some great skills and have made some progress. So it's sort of silly to say I'm a hack. I think it would be like, ideally I would be able to like better apply the skills, but I think at times it really has helped me make some progress when I've done my mood logs on my own and stuff like that. I guess I won that.
Yeah, big or small?
I think big.
Big or huge?
Maybe not huge.
Okay, do a role reversal.
Okay. Sarah, if you can't succeed in using these methods and what you know to heal your own anxiety relapse, then that means you're just an inadequate hack of a team therapist.
Yeah, and you know the awesome thing about it?
What?
My patients don't give a shit.
That's so true.
They seem to like what I'm doing. It's like what the Buddha said. It's a kind of a miracle.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Who won?
No one. Yeah, you.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge.
Yeah, and how did I win huge?
Well, I think just by normalizing that, like, this is all in my head. This is all my thoughts, and that I think that, like, when I look back to a couple years ago when I was barely applying a team technique here and there, like, that was helping even then, and things I was doing before wasn't totally useless, and now I'm actually applying it all the time. You know, I'm using team 100%, and even if I'm not perfect at it, and I sometimes fumble and stumble, it's
I
really
told you
helping
about
people.
when I started my practice, I was real depressed one night.
Yeah.
And I had to see all these patients.
Mm-hmm.
And they came out and said, "Oh, I think I'm worthless and I'm hopeless." And I started saying, "I know exactly how you feel." And I thought, gosh, they're just going to hate this. And then
Yeah.
at the end, they said, "Oh, you were so much nicer tonight and so much more helpful to me."
Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah,
You know?
but I have something else to hit you with.
Okay.
You should not have anxiety when you compare your life to all the extreme suffering in the world, especially now.
Yeah. You know, the truth is, I think in the last 2 weeks, the first week of shelter in place, I was pretty panicky. But these last couple weeks, it's actually given me some really helpful perspective and maybe improved some of the anxiety. But also, you know, I think it's possible to have some anxiety and also be very grateful for everything that I do have in my health, and still be empathic and compassionate and help those who are suffering more. You know, and I think I've been talking to my patients about this these last couple of weeks, who might even feel more, who might even feel in similar ways, that like everybody has their own unique story right now and their own set of things that's going on for them. And it doesn't really serve us to like compare, is it, you know, better or worse than others,
So,
and
so
just
are
to
you
sort of
saying it's
honor
okay
what's going
for? Are
through.
you saying it's okay for me to have anxiety?
Yeah, I think it's okay. And also it's okay for all of us to have some level of anxiety right now.
I see. And
But
that,
even to be talking about things that were occurring before, it's like,
but doesn't this make me a hack of a therapist?
no, I don't think it makes you a hack of a therapist. I think it makes you human.
So you're saying it's okay to have this anxiety? It's okay to struggle?
I think it's okay to struggle.
And that's true, or are you just bullshitting me?
No, that's true. I mean, we all
Well,
struggle at times.
there's this other one you're never going to be able to answer, though. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Okay.
Okay. David is sick of you and frustrated that you haven't gotten past this.
I don't know that. And I mean, what I know of David so far is that he has a very deep well of compassion and patience for people who are suffering, as noted by he devoting his entire life to this cause. And he's given me no signs of that. That's completely something I've fabricated in my mind, and has been very kind and open with offering to help me with personal work. So that's just kind of stupid.
Well, the fact is you're not as effective when you're upset and anxious.
You know, I think there have been moments where I look back at a session that I wasn't, you know, that I was feeling a little fuzzy or not concentrating as well, or tired, or thought I was going to throw up, where I might have refined something or hit the ball a little further out of the park. But for the most part, I would kind of observe myself, like these things were coming out of my brain and my mouth that were making sense and were working in the session, even though I was experiencing this other thing in my body. I think a lot of times I still have been very effective. Not perfect though. And that's actually maybe been a good lesson for me, that it's okay. Like you said before, it's like, I don't even think they notice. I don't think anybody has noticed that I've been going through something.
Yeah.
And and most of the time they're wrapped up in what, they're talking about. Right.
Yeah. Let's just do the after now, because we're really short on time, and there's a big theme from today's session that I want to leave you with. And
okay.
I'm sorry we're running out of time, but let's you have your daily mood log there?
Yeah. Go
How
ahead.
down and unhappy are you feeling right now?
0.
Mm-hmm. How anxious and panicky?
0.
How ashamed?
0.
How inadequate and incompetent?
You know, 0, I guess.
Well, let's give it some number.
Okay,
We don't want all these
yeah.
goose eggs up here.
I was gonna say, I'll go with like 5.
5. How alone?
0.
0. How self-conscious?
Like 3.
I thought that's so cool. I thought that was going to be a 4. How discouraged are you feeling?
0.
0. How frustrated, stuck, and defeated?
I mean 3, just because
3. And how irritated?
0 right now.
0. And I'd like to hear what the healing dimensions were, and it'd be nice to get a little feedback from people, even for a couple of minutes. But I thought there were 2 huge things that happened, among probably many other things. But I think that Esther was quite right that the acceptance is the key to all of this. You have the ability to clobber these negative thoughts, but we are talking about the death of the self, the Sarah who's always in control and always powerful. It's taken me a long time to let go of things like that, and I drift in and out of enlightenment, but I used to also think I was supposed to be so special and impress people and stuff like that, and I find that people love me more, way more, when I'm human and real. But that's the big underlying theme here, is the acceptance, and the paradox is that self-acceptance is the greatest change a human being can make.
Yeah.
But yet we cling to the mindset that gets us stuck because of all these beautiful things about it. It's, it shows that you're strong and ambitious and loving and giving, and those are really beautiful things. And the other thing was when you got so far into the emotion tonight and cried and let things kind of come together. And it seems like that's some of the comforting that you've been needing and missing, the chance to cry and be cared about. And that you were weak at that moment. And I thought at that moment that you were crying and weak, you were paradoxically very strong and compelling. And what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you with that. It's like in the moment that I was most vulnerable, I really recognized the lack of self-compassion.
Yeah.
And also just maybe like, messages, right? And I think it's more the messages I developed. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, it was just
My
broke up
internet
a
was
little, that's all.
unstable. Okay. I talked about how it was messages I received as a child or messages I receive now in my marriage, but I think it's really it's more so the messages I'm giving myself.
Yes, that's right. Your husband cannot
Right?
affect your feelings.
And even if he says, like, if we communicate poorly, it's more about like a knowing of my worth, right? And it's okay to be vulnerable.
And
right.
at that moment when you were crying and became vulnerable, all your physical symptoms, you said, vanished. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that's cause and effect, but that's what I saw at Stanford when I was running the inpatient groups. There were a lot of severe pain patients. They had a pain unit there,
Yeah.
and they'd come to the cognitive therapy
Mm-hmm.
groups. I measured their pain and emotions at the beginning and end of the session, and we worked on their emotions, not the physical
Yeah.
symptoms. And then there was a powerful causal effect that as the depression and anxiety and anger decreased, then the pain improved a lot, sometimes 100%, sometimes 50% reduction in pain, and sometimes no reduction in pain. But there, on average, half the pain that the patients felt disappeared when their emotions improved.
I do. Yeah.
And it was very very striking. It can be the same with any kind of somatic distress. Let's see if we could just get a little feedback from people. I hogged the show. I apologize profusely, but at the same time, I'm glad that we were able to get to the other side of the River Jordan a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
So can we get some feedback from those of you who were patiently, watching?
Still here. Yeah.
Can I just say one quick thing, David, that I experienced? We were in the midst of a technique, a method, and I thought maybe pivoting to do what would it mean to you going toward a downward arrow, something like that. And it was really powerful for me to see. We already were at a core belief. You said that, David, that this was kind of a core belief for you, Sarah, and that actually moving into this, back into resistance around that, and that this is something that you've been believing, and maybe you wanted to hold on to that because it has been a way you've been treating yourself. That to me was so powerful to watch. David, you Sarah towards struggling with. Were you ready to think about it differently? Would that even be, something you'd want to try?
Yeah.
Sarah, for you, how that was, but
yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. I think that's really important. That was a very important moment. Really recognizing.
When I said maybe we shouldn't change this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you started protesting.
Right.
And say, oh no, I'm tired of this type of thing.
That was the pivot.
Yeah.
And I felt even my energy to fight back on the thoughts increased. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for bringing that up.
I agree with both Alex and Sarah. That was fascinating to watch. I was thinking that it could be a downward arrow as well. And then once you started saying we don't really need to work on this, and Sarah wanting to, that was really unique and remarkable.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Ryan is highlighted. Fabricio's always got something good to say. Elizabeth might have something good to say. Danielle probably does. Ruben always has great thoughts.
I mean, I just so appreciate all that you were willing to be vulnerable about today, Sarah. I really, because I know what that's like, actually. I have a similar problem with anxiety and getting so nauseous. And so just watching you, take that on, and then the whole belief system and of how to break that down, the struggle between being strong and then feeling weak, and then watching you kind of put that together and realize that no, actually your strength has gotten you through this in so many ways. It was just a really golden moment that was interlaced with, I was exactly in the same camp of Alex. I was kind of like, how come we're not doing a downward arrow? What's going on? And then, he said it, and then just sat and watched David, and then saw that resistance and that beautiful moment. And there was another one earlier on where you just started lightening up, and I found myself just really, when you and David were going back and forth, I think just on the feelings and the thoughts, and I found myself just enjoying that tenderness of the moment and seeing this side of you that I actually don't see much. I love what I see of you, but there was just a little smile and a softness and a vulnerability that was starting to happen probably about an hour ago. And then it just slowly, it seemed like it was palpable, and it started increasing throughout until we got to this moment here that you so, beautifully did, and that David crafted. It was just really quite lovely. Thank you.
Violating these rules is so important. I used to have this rule that I should be special and I should be worthwhile. And that's kind of what I've learned from my cats, is just give up on that shit. And, I don't feel worthwhile anymore. I don't feel special anymore. And what a relief it is.
Yeah.
I think what I saw and what also stayed with me is like how hard it was for you kind of to go there and open up. And when you did, it was always, yes, you realized that you need more self-compassionate, but then you kind of fell back into, but not too much, like just like, for me, it was like, it was kind of nice to see how you were kind of fighting back and forth, like going there and feeling it and understanding it at some level, but falling back in the pattern. Yeah, okay, but now we're done. Like that like let's pack it up nicely and just go on with what needs to be done. So and I think that will probably come back to you again, right? And it's like, but it's nice because now you can kind of catch yourself when that comes up. And that was for me very intense to see how strong also that is, and how ultimately there is definitely a part of you that wants to hang on to that thought. So
yes, you're so right. I really agree.
Someone else, sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, yeah, that makes so much sense. I really think that was like the pinnacle. And now I do have that awareness, so I can sort of have a better gauge maybe and the resistance is coming up again, and like this is surely where I'll relapse.
We'll drift
but
in
now
and
I
out
feel
of
more powerful about
we drift in and out of enlightenment, that's for sure. Does anyone want to speak who hasn't spoken yet at the end? Sarah, Fabrizio, Mark, Danielle, Ruben, Ryan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
First, Sarah, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing this moment with us, and David for leading that, and everybody else. It's one thing that really struck me was when you said, I knew that I have, I beat myself up a lot, right? And that resonated with me because I have this kind of intellectual understanding that I do that also. But it seemed like it took an extra sort of deeper emotional understanding, and maybe it was sort of the uncovering of the resistance and being in a comfortable place after the empathy and I feel like it was just a beautiful highlighting of the sort of team approach, how you can have maybe this kind of surface level understanding of something, but it takes this process to really bring that out and to really feel it, and that was really beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it was beautiful when you cried and when you brought that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in a therapy session.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
Well, it's
maybe one more thing, if I can, just very briefly. I know it's late. I too believe, that the most, the key moment was really when we went into the resistance, and that was really the key aspect of the moment. Another important moment, and of course we didn't go there because we wanted to do the daily mood log, but the hidden emotion and going through the relationship journal, that is another key element that's probably worth exploring more, because there seems to be a little bit of resentment there, and maybe it makes sense in a way too, because of course you do deserve respect and to make your own choices. And anyway, let's not go there, but I'm just saying it's another important element I think that needs more a little more exploration probably.
Yeah, and that 5 secrets practice with the relationship and stuff, that will take more time than what took tonight. That's harder for people to turn around on these negative thoughts and self-defeating beliefs. But you're so right, Fabrizio. That's the outer. We've done the inner tonight, but then we need to do the outer. And what are the effective ways to communicate these feelings in a loving and non-adversarial way to husband.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for giving us this wonderful kind of finale, Sarah. And hopefully we'll be able to reconnect, in one format or another before long, because it's really, to me, these experiences are like magic, but it's also like love or warmth, or it's to me it's the best side of life.
Thank you very much to you, David, and to everybody. And I really, really appreciate so much your support. And I know it's late and you even stuck it out even longer. I just want you to know how grateful I am and how much I'm going to be thinking about all of you during this time. And I hope we'll find ways to still stay connected. But just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, you're very welcome. And then Alex will send you via Dropbox the video and audio together if you want the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Will do.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Till we meet
Bye,
again.
everybody, for a while.
So much.
Bye.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Bye. Sad.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes for this episode under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. The theme music is Gypsy Jazz in Paris, 1935, composed and performed by Brett Van Donsel. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.